Why do some silent requests to the universe seem to find an immediate echo, while others, even those born from the depths of the heart, get lost in the abyss of nothingness? How many times have you found yourself praying intensely, hoping for an answer, only to be met with silence? This question, so intimate yet universal, resonates in the minds of thousands of spiritual seekers, cutting across cultures, traditions, and centuries. Prayer, this ancestral gesture that connects the invisible to the tangible, seems to contain within it an incomprehensible technology. It is not just about words, nor solely about rituals. There is something more, something hidden, that determines its effectiveness. And that is precisely what we are going to unravel. Over time, those who dared to delve into the mystery of reality realized that human thoughts, emotions, and intentions are not merely internal reactions, but creative forces that shape the very fabric of the world. Most people pray as if they are throwing a message in a bottle out to sea, with hope, but without clear direction. They hope that some force, some being, some miracle will hear and respond. But what if prayer is much more than a plea? What if it's a way to encode reality, to tune in to hidden layers of existence, shaping the very quantum structure that underpins all that is? By studying spiritual traditions and the latest findings of modern physics, we realize that prayer can be likened to an energy transmission, where the heart is the transmitter, the thought is the signal, and the universe, a responsive field of possibilities. It turns out that most pray disconnected from the true channel, without understanding how the instrument works. Just like a musician who has never tuned his violin, many pray without aligning mind, emotion, and purpose. It's not uncommon to find people who pray in despair, fear, or haste, believing that the universe responds to the intensity of their plea. But the truth is, effective prayer doesn't depend on emotional effort, but on vibrational coherence. The universe doesn't respond to what we say or what we want. It responds to what we are. When our words are out of alignment with our vibrational field, the result is silence. On the other hand, when there's alignment between emotion, intention, and belief, something magical happens. Reality begins to reorganize itself. Prayer ceases to be a cry and becomes a subtle command, imperceptible to the eyes, but incredibly effective. Thus, understanding this invisible mechanism is essential to transform prayer from an act of blind faith into a tool of conscious creation. For centuries, spiritual masters have spoken about the importance of sincere prayer, but few have explained how it actually works. This is not due to omission, but because the knowledge was reserved, veiled, often protected by symbols or metaphorical language. Today, however, we have access to something extraordinary: the union between ancient wisdom and modern scientific discoveries. From the Hermetic tradition to the studies on the electromagnetic fields of the heart, everything converges to the same truth. There is an architecture behind prayer, an energetic structure that needs to be understood to be activated powerfully. This changes everything. It ceases to be superstition and becomes understanding. It stops being a plea and becomes a lever. Quantum science has already demonstrated that the observer influences the observed, that reality responds to consciousness. But we are still learning how to use this consciously. Prayer is one of the oldest and, at the same time, most misunderstood tools of this process. Instead of a last resort, it can be the first step of a creative process. When understood in its essence, it ceases to be a dependency on the external and becomes an affirmation of our ability to co-create. The problem is that we have been conditioned to pray by asking, begging for blessings, as if we were separated from the creative source. But true prayer is born from the recognition of unity. It does not beg, it declares. It does not question, it trusts. It does not lament, it visualizes. Have you ever noticed that the moments in which we feel the most connection are precisely those where there is no despair, but surrender? Where there is no rush, but presence? The real prayer occurs in the inner silence, in the space between thoughts, in the pulsing of the heart in coherence. It's not just about reciting words, but inhabiting a state of consciousness. It's as if we were writing codes into the fabric of reality through the electromagnetic field that our body constantly emits. This field, as we will discover later, can be trained, refined, elevated, and this is where everything begins to change. Prayer, then, is not what you say, but what you vibrate. It's not what you ask for, but what you allow. The human heart is more than a muscle. It's a frequency hub that emits powerful signals. Studies have already shown that the heart's electromagnetic field is much stronger than the brain's. And it is in this field that prayer operates most intensely, but not just any prayer, not one made out of habit or fear. The prayer that moves realities is born from anticipated gratitude, from the inner certainty that what has been visualized is already real in another layer of existence. And this state of certainty can't be faked, it needs to be lived. Therefore, the first step to understand the hidden mechanics of prayer is to change the way we relate to it. Stop seeing it as an emergency button and start using it as a permanent vibrational state. Those who understand this secret no longer live waiting for miracles. They become the miracle themselves, not because everything goes right all the time, but because they have learned to read the signs, trust the process, and align their actions with their intentions. Prayer, in this context, is like the source code of a program. The world, like a large quantum simulation, responds to the correct codes. But if you type in the wrong commands, the results will be incoherent. This is not divine punishment, it's universal logic. Everything vibrates, everything responds. And when you pray with clarity, coherence, and confidence, you are actually adjusting the frequencies of your being to resonate with what you wish to manifest. The big issue is that many people don't know what they're truly radiating. They utter positive words, but inside they feel doubt, fear, anger, or sadness. And the universe picks up on this real frequency, not the verbal discourse. Effective prayer, therefore, requires an internal alignment that goes beyond rational thinking. It's necessary to feel as if it's already real, to live the emotion of the achievement before it manifests, not out of illusion, but due to deep trust in the creative power of consciousness. When this happens, reality begins to respond. Paths open up, the right people appear, coincidences align. And all of this without forced effort, but through vibrational attunement. The true spiritual revolution will not come from new beliefs, but from a new way of experiencing reality. Prayer is much more than talking to God or the universe. It's about establishing a vibrational bond with what you wish to co-create. This awareness changes everything. It takes the individual out of the victim role and places them in the co-creator role. No longer waiting for blessings, but cultivating internal states that naturally attract what is in tune with their vibration. Prayer, then, becomes a daily practice, not as an obligation, but as a natural act of internal alignment, like breathing, like existing. And this is where our journey begins, in understanding that prayer is not just a religious or spiritual act, but an expression of the human ability to influence one's own destiny. As we progress, we will delve into how prayer operates within the field of reality, how it interacts with time, with the body, with the mind, and with the heart. We will unravel the hidden mechanisms that transform thought into form, intention into reality, feeling into manifestation. And at the end of this journey, you will never pray the same way again, because you will know that in truth, it was always you shaping the world around you with each vibration emitted, with each emotion felt, with each conscious or unconscious thought. And this is the true hidden power of prayer. There is a language that doesn't require words, a language that isn't spoken but emanates. It's the vibrational language of the universe. Everything in the cosmos vibrates, pulses, resonates. There is no static matter. There is no absolute silence. From the smallest atom to the largest galaxies, everything emits an energy signature. And this signature is read, interpreted, and responded to by the universal field of reality. When we pray, we are not simply communicating with something external. We are tuning our frequency with the infinite possibilities of the quantum field. It doesn't matter the religion, the language, or the ritual used. What determines the efficacy of prayer is not the external form, but the internal vibration it carries. The universe doesn't respond to form, it responds to essence. And the essence of prayer is pure frequency. Imagine that reality is a vast sea of possibilities, where each thought, each intention, and each feeling creates a wave. The universe responds to the frequency of this wave, not to its verbal content. If you emit fear, even though you ask for peace, the field responds to fear. If you vibrate scarcity, even though you cry out for abundance, what returns is the reflection of your frequency, not your speech. That's why many prayers go unanswered, because the field is not deceived by words. It responds to what is true within you, and this inner truth has color, sound, vibration. It speaks the hidden language of the universe. Learning this language is what transforms prayer into a direct channel of manifestation rather than an empty plea. Ancient masters knew this. In the temples of Egypt, in Hermetic wisdom, in indigenous and Eastern traditions, prayer was understood as a vibrational act, not just devotional. The sacred sound, the gesture, the silence, the rhythm of breathing, all were part of a coding that aimed to adjust the being to the frequency of what one wished to manifest. Words were used as bridges, but the true engine of prayer was the emotional and energetic vibration behind them. It wasn't about asking something from an external deity, but about awakening within oneself the same frequency of what one wanted to attract. It was an alignment, not a request. It was a state, not a plea. Modern physics began to touch on this mystery when it revealed that the observer influences the observed phenomenon. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrated that reality is not fixed, but behaves differently depending on the consciousness observing it. This is not mysticism, it's science. And if reality responds to observation, then it also responds to intention. And if it responds to intention, then prayer, when done with vibrational awareness, has the power to shape events. The universe is a quantum mirror that reflects, with relentless accuracy, the predominant frequency of our being. Knowing this is liberating, but it also requires responsibility. Because at every moment we are emitting a vibration that is shaping our experience, whether we are aware of it or not. One of the greatest proponents of this connection between spirituality and science is Gregg Braden. In his studies, he demonstrates how the ancients understood prayer as something that is already being answered at the moment it is issued with coherence. For them, it was not about asking for something that does not exist, but about expressing gratitude in advance for something that has already been created on a subtler level. Gratitude, in this context, is the highest vibrational language, because it carries the certainty that the desire has already materialized. This certainty, when felt intensely, adjusts the vibrational field of the body and sends a clear signal to the field of reality. The result? Matter responds, events reconfigure, and reality adapts to the new vibration. Another key researcher in this field is Masaru Emoto, who demonstrated how water responds to different emotional vibrations. His experiments with water crystals exposed to different words, music, and intentions showed that the inner state of the person praying or emitting a thought is captured by the water's molecular structure. Considering that the human body is primarily composed of water, this reveals the direct impact of internal vibrations on our health, our emotional states, and consequently, the quality of our prayers. When we pray in imbalance, we emit chaotic signals. When we pray in harmony, we create organized, beautiful, resonant forms. The universe responds to this beauty. It recognizes the vibrational order and amplifies it. This hidden language is not registered in dictionaries nor taught in schools, but it is instinctively understood by all living beings. Animals perceive intentions. Plants react to music and affection. Small children can sense when an environment is charged or harmonious. Everything vibrates, everything captures. And we, as conscious beings, have the privilege of actively interacting with this field. Prayer, when done with presence, genuine feeling, clear imagery, and heightened emotion, is like an energetic password that unlocks realities. But when done automatically, repetitively, without emotion, it becomes just noise. It's not the quantity of prayers that counts, but the vibrational quality of each one. The universe is not deaf, but selective. It responds to alignment, not to desperation. That's why many of the great spiritual masters insisted on the importance of meditation, contemplation, visualization, not to escape reality, but to prepare the internal vibrational field before any emission. Praying without first achieving coherence is like trying to tune a radio to the wrong frequency. The sound comes out distorted. But when you fine-tune the instrument, body, mind, emotion, then the prayer becomes a clear, powerful, irresistible melody, and reality dances to the sound of this music. Within the realm of vibrational mechanics, there exists a powerful principle, like attracts like. This means that you can only attract what is in resonance with what you already are, not what you wish to be. Desiring something that vibrates at a different frequency from yours creates tension, resistance, disconnection. That's why prayers made from a place of lack often produce more lack. The unconscious focus is on absence, not presence. But when you feel the reality of your desire as already fulfilled, your vibration aligns with abundance, and the universe responds to this frequency. This is the true alchemy of prayer, transforming desire into state, hope into certainty, lack into gratitude. The time of words needs to give way to the time of frequency. The universe reads energy, not discourse. It senses what you are emitting even when your mouth is silent. Therefore, there are silent prayers that are more powerful than desperate screams. The hidden language of the universe lies between the lines of emotion in the invisible field of intention. Prayer then becomes a subtle code, a transmission of spiritual data that is decoded by the quantum field into events, encounters, answers, signs. The clearer and more coherent the signal, the more accurate the response. And this clarity does not come from repetition, but from conscious presence. Understanding this language is learning how to truly pray, not as an isolated act, but as a continuous state of vibrational emission. Your life becomes a moving prayer. Each thought, each choice, each gesture becomes part of a code that informs the universe about who you are and what you are co-creating. There is no separation between spiritual and everyday life. Everything vibrates. Everything responds. You are, at all times, a living antenna transmitting and receiving. Prayer, in this sense, is simply the conscious adjustment of this antenna. And when this adjustment is made wisely, the impossible begins to bend to the frequency of your faith. Within the vastness of the universe, the human brain remains one of the most complex and mysterious structures ever known. Weighing less than 1.5 kilograms, it is the brain that interprets reality, generates thoughts, emotions, decisions, and surprisingly, also emits measurable frequencies. Contemporary science has begun to more clearly unravel what spiritual traditions have always hinted at. The brain, especially during states of deep prayer, meditation, or contemplation, not only processes information, but enters into states of coherence that directly affect the body and the field around the individual. This state alters the internal biochemistry, modulating hormonal activity, influencing the autonomic nervous system, and expanding perception. Prayer, in this context, is not a mere symbolic act. It's a profound exercise of spiritual neuroengineering that reorganizes the central nervous system and tunes the mind to subtle realities. During prayer, especially when charged with genuine feeling and clear intention, the brain activates specific regions such as the prefrontal cortex, responsible for concentration, and the limbic system, involved in emotions. Studies in neurotheology, a field that combines neurology and spirituality, have shown that prayer and meditation increase cortical thickness in areas associated with empathy, self-awareness, and emotional self-regulation. Moreover, prolonged prayers alter brainwave patterns, taking the brain from high-frequency states, like the beta state, linked to attention and logical thinking, to alpha, theta, and even gamma waves, states normally associated with creativity, intuition, healing, and deep connection. These subtler states create the perfect conditions for conscious manifestation, as they silence the noise of the rational mind and align the individual with what they wish to co-create. Prayer, when understood as a vibrational technology, reveals that there is no separation between faith and physiology. The chemistry of the brain changes with the type of prayer that is made. For instance, prayers that stem from fear, insecurity, or guilt activate the amygdala, the part of the brain connected to the alarm system, generating more cortisol, the stress hormone. On the other hand, prayers that arise from gratitude, trust, or acceptance activate the nucleus accumbens related to reward and pleasure and raise the levels of dopamine and serotonin, neurotransmitters related to happiness and well-being. The difference between a desperate prayer and a coherent prayer is not just vibrational, it is biochemical. A brain under stress doesn't manifest clearly. Conversely, a peaceful brain syncs with the field of possibilities. Understanding this transforms the way we relate to spirituality. And more. During intense prayers or states of deep meditation, the pineal gland, located in the center of the brain, can be intensely activated. Considered by many ancient traditions as the abode of the soul or the spiritual eye, the pineal is highly sensitive to light, vibration, and energy. Studies show that it can produce chemicals like melatonin and DMT, the molecule of spirituality, which is related to expanded states of consciousness. When prayer reaches this level of depth, it transcends the rational field and enters into brain regions associated with mystical experiences. This explains why many people report feelings of unity, warmth, peace, or even visions during moments of sincere prayer. These are not hallucinations, but accesses to expanded states of perception where common reality dissolves and consciousness connects to the whole. In turn, the brain does not function in isolation. It is intimately connected to the heart and the gut, forming what many scientists today call the triad of human intelligence. These three centers exchange constant information, and deep prayers seem to synchronize them. The heart sends more signals to the brain than the other way around. During states of sincere prayer, this communication intensifies. The brain resonates with heart coherence, which generates emotional stability, mental clarity, and strengthens the immune system. In other words, praying with the heart and mind in harmony produces a physiological state that not only promotes health, but also creates a neurological platform conducive to conscious manifestation. We are talking about a real engineering of consciousness in which thought, feeling, and intention align to emit a clear vibrational signal to the field of reality. Deep-rooted beliefs shape brain circuits. What you believe about prayer directly impacts its efficacy. If, at an unconscious level, you believe that you are undeserving, that it doesn't work, or that you are not heard, your brain will not activate the necessary circuits with enough intensity. But if you believe with conviction that prayer is effective, your brain will organize its internal resources to enhance the act of prayer. This is the basis of the so-called self-fulfilling prophecy. What you believe with intensity begins to shape your behavior, your physiology, and consequently, your reality. Therefore, faith is not just an abstract concept. It is a neurological configuration. Faith moves mountains because it first moves synapses, neurotransmitters, and hormones within you. Neuroscientists have also observed that regular practices of prayer or meditation alter the density of gray matter in brain regions associated with empathy, decision-making, and self-control. This means that people who pray frequently not only develop more inner peace, but also become emotionally more resilient, less reactive, and more likely to see opportunities amidst challenges. Prayer, then, is not merely a spiritual refuge, but a genuine neurological workout that restructures perception and strengthens the mind. With each prayer, the mind refines itself, the brain reorganizes, and the field of reality responds more accurately. And this cycle feeds back into itself, creating an upward spiral of consciousness, clarity, and manifestation. Even more fascinating is the fact that the brain is highly plastic. This means it can be shaped, reprogrammed, trained. The practice of mindful prayer, coupled with visualization, emotion, and repetition, acts as a brain training that strengthens certain circuits and weakens others. When you pray with faith, you reinforce the neural pathways of trust, hope, and inspired action. Over time, this changes your vibrational identity. And when your identity changes, the reality around you responds to this new signature. Prayer, then, ceases to be an effort and becomes a natural extension of your being. You no longer need to force anything. You simply live in coherence, and reality aligns with you. It's worth noting that the brain operates as a filter. It interprets reality based on the references it has. Therefore, when you pray from a mind conditioned by beliefs of scarcity, punishment, or guilt, even if your words are positive, the vibration transmitted is limited. But when you expand your perception, nourish yourself with knowledge, open yourself to the possibility of being a co-creator of your experience, then the brain begins to function as a subtle transmitter, no longer just as a reactive one. It becomes a tool of connection, not of limitation. Prayer, in this new paradigm, is the bridge between the conditioned brain and the unlimited mind. It dissolves the filters, reconfigures the patterns, and opens space for the new. The biggest challenge is training the brain to maintain elevated states even in the face of adverse circumstances. Prayer, when done frequently and deeply, allows this. It strengthens the circuits of resilience, surrender, and broad vision. It's not about denying pain or problems, but about keeping the vibration high even when everything seems to crumble. The brain trained by prayer does not react with desperation, but responds with wisdom. It has learned, through conscious repetition, that everything transforms, everything is moldable, everything responds to the predominant vibration of the being. And this confidence changes everything. It transforms prayer into a tool for profound transmutation, from pain into peace, from chaos into purpose, from doubt into vibrant certainty. Thus, prayer is not an isolated request, but a continuous process of neurological restructuring. Each time you pray with clear intention, genuine emotion, and coherent visualization, you are shaping your brain. You are rewriting your mental software. You are replacing old patterns with new codes. Prayer is the highest form of spiritual and neurological programming, as it acts simultaneously in the quantum field and neural networks. And, in doing so, it becomes the most powerful tool for personal transformation and conscious manifestation. Not because it alters external magic, but because it profoundly changes the very structure of the practitioner. While for centuries it was believed that the brain was the absolute center of human consciousness, today science is beginning to recognize what spiritual traditions have always asserted. The heart is not just a pump that propels blood. It is a true emotional and energetic brain, with its own electromagnetic field, much more powerful than that of the brain. The HeartMath Institute, a world reference in heart coherence research, has demonstrated that the heart's electromagnetic field extends several meters beyond the physical body and can be measured by sensitive instruments. This field interacts with surrounding fields, capturing and transmitting information in a vibrational language that precedes any form of verbal communication. When we pray, it is the heart that emits the most potent signature, not the mind. Effective prayer, therefore, needs to spring from the heart, as it is the genuine emotion that activates the clearest signal in the quantum field of reality. The heart has about 40,000 specialized neurons that communicate with the brain through neurological, biochemical, and energetic pathways. This cardiac neural network not only sends more information to the brain than it receives, but it also directly influences emotional state, decision-making ability, focus, and perception. In states of cardiac coherence, when there is alignment between heartbeats, respiratory rhythm, and brain activity, the body enters a state of harmony, enhancing intuition, mental clarity, and the feeling of connection with something greater. Prayer made in this state not only resonates more purely in the field, but also internally reorganizes physiological systems. This is where science meets the sacred. The heart, when in coherence, becomes a true communication portal with the invisible. When a person prays, deeply feeling what they are expressing, not just thinking or speaking, but vibrating intensely, the heart rate adjusts, and the whole body responds with a synchronicity that reverberates in the surrounding field. This coherence is not just biological, it's vibrational. It generates stable, harmonic, organized waves, exactly the kind of signal that the quantum field responds to most effectively. When there is a mismatch between mind and heart, when the prayer is made only with words but without feeling, the signal sent is distorted, incoherent, weak. That's why many requests seem to have no effect, because they are not sustained by a coherent and stable vibration. It's the heart that gives strength to the prayer. It's the feeling that magnetizes the thought. It's the emotion that activates the field. Spiritual traditions, even without the tools of modern science, have intuited this truth for millennia. In indigenous cultures, prayer has always been accompanied by song, dance, breath, and rhythmic beats, elements that naturally induce states of coherence between body and mind. The Sufis danced in spirals, the Tibetan monks chanted mantras, the shamans played drums, not for mere ritualistic aesthetics, but to enter into deep vibrational alignment, where the heart aligns with the cosmos. Prayer, in these contexts, was a fusion between the internal and the external, a dance between the microcosm and the macrocosm, where the heart was the sacred temple from which all creation stemmed. To pray was to become one with what was desired. It was to become the very vibration of the miracle. Functional magnetic resonance studies show that during moments of deep compassion, sincere forgiveness, or intense gratitude, there is simultaneous activation of areas in the brain and heart. This state creates a field of psychophysiological coherence so stable that it can influence those around, alter the density of the environment's electromagnetic field, and even affect complex systems at a distance, as already demonstrated in collective meditation experiments. The heart, when it beats with true love, not only transforms the individual, but sends out waves that touch the world. That's why prayers made with the heart have the power to heal, transform, synchronize, even without words. It's a silent but irresistible language that reality cannot ignore. Heart coherence also strengthens the immune system, reduces cortisol levels, and activates the production of DHEA, the vitality hormone. In other words, prayer done with positive emotion not only alters the field, but also regenerates the body. Emotional healing, energy healing, and physical healing are interconnected. The heart is the bridge between all these levels. It is the place where intention turns into pure vibration. When we pray with a heart full of love, gratitude, or compassion, we are literally reprogramming our internal and external field. This reprogramming generates a new energy signature that, over time, begins to shape reality in a way that is coherent with the sustained vibrational state. Prayer becomes a process of energetic recalibration of the being. It's important to remember that the heart doesn't lie. It grasps the truth even before the rational mind comprehends it. How many times have we felt something was right or wrong before we had any logical justification? That's the heart operating in its intuitive state. By aligning our prayer with this intuitive center, we take a step beyond the rational mind and access an intelligence that transcends linear time and the ego's filters. This intelligence is capable of perceiving patterns, picking up signals, and communicating with the field of possibilities much more effectively. Therefore, when the heart is involved in prayer, time ceases to be an obstacle. The impossible becomes probable. The unlikely materializes. Modern physics is beginning to recognize that the universe may in fact be a vast field of information. Everything is energy in motion, vibration, frequency. In this scenario, the heart functions as a transceiver, a device for transmission and reception. It emits frequencies that modulate the surrounding field and at the same time captures subtle information that escapes the perception of the logical mind. During prayer, it is this mechanism that connects us to synchronicities, intuitions, and events that seem coincidental but are direct responses to the vibrational state we are maintaining. Prayer made with the heart is, therefore, a wordless request, a communication encoded in pure vibration which activates responses at the most subtle level of reality. There are accounts of people who, when praying with their heart, have experienced unexplainable healings, unexpected encounters, and doors that opened without apparent logic. These are not exceptions. They are expressions of a universal principle that operates with mathematical perfection. The vibration emitted with coherence finds its counterpart in the quantum field. The heart is the key that tunes the being to the frequency of what one wishes to co-create. The deeper the emotion, the stronger the signal. The truer the intention, the clearer the response. Prayer, in this context, is an art of tuning. It's not about convincing a higher being to help us, but about becoming vibrationally compatible with the reality we wish to experience. The heart does not only feel, it organizes. It creates coherence in complex systems. It unites what is separated. And this is precisely what true prayer does. It unifies the self. It brings together mind, emotion, body, and soul into a single purpose, a single vibration, a single direction. This unified state is rare in the fragmented world we live in, but that's exactly why it's so powerful. When a person enters into total coherence with what they desire, reality has no choice but to respond. Prayer made from the heart is irresistible because it is sincere, it is pure, it is clear. There is no contradiction, there is no resistance. There is only a coherent vibration that resonates in the field with such strength that time itself bends to accommodate it. Finally, understanding that the heart is the true gateway to prayer is more than a spiritual insight. It is a call for a new way of living. It is an invitation to stop merely asking and start feeling as if it already is, to stop seeking externally and start nurturing internally, to abandon discourse and inhabit vibration. The heart is the most advanced co-creation technology we possess. It connects, it translates, it emits, it knows. And when you pray from it, you are not just speaking to God, the universe, or the field. You are becoming a conscious extension of creation itself. You are vibrating with the source. You are shaping reality with pure love. The prayer that truly transforms reality is not born solely from desire. It arises from a clear intention, profound feelings, and coherent visualization. These three elements, intention, emotion, and mental imagery, form the triad of conscious manifestation. Each one acts as an essential cog within the vibrational dynamics of creation. The intention is the direction, the feeling is the fuel, the visualization is the mold. When these three are aligned, prayer becomes a force generating tangible realities, capable of altering circumstances, redefining experiences, and attracting events in harmony with the emitted vibration. The absence of any of these elements compromises the effectiveness of the process, as conscious creation requires total coherence between what one wants, what one feels, and what one sees with the mind's eye. Intention is the starting point. It's the silent command that directs the energy of prayer. But for it to be effective, it needs to be crystal clear. Often, intentions are contaminated by internal contradictions, hidden doubts, or disguised desires. Praying for prosperity while fearing success is to emit two opposing signals at the same time. Desiring a loving relationship while carrying deep grudges or constant distrust is to communicate an ambiguous intention to the vibrational field. The clarity of intention is not in the words, but in the clean vibration that comes from a genuine desire, without unconscious resistances. When the intention is pure, it becomes an energetic arrow that pierces the veil of reality and paves the way for the desire to manifest. Feeling is what gives life to intention. Without emotion, prayer is a dead command. Emotion is the engine of vibration. It is the energy field that activates resonance with what one wishes to attract. Science has already proven that emotions such as gratitude, love, compassion, and joy elevate the frequency of the human body, generating organized and coherent fields. On the other hand, feelings like fear, anger, resentment, or doubt generate chaotic, disordered fields, which weaken the signal sent to the quantum field. Therefore, to pray without feeling is like lighting a candle in the wind. The flame goes out even before illuminating. But when one deeply feels the desired reality, as if it were already happening, the body responds, the mind adjusts, the field aligns, and prayer becomes a creative gesture. Visualization is the third pillar. It is through it that the mind shapes the internal reality that will be manifested externally. Visualization is more than just imagining. It is creating a sensory and emotional experience so vivid that the brain registers it as real. Studies with athletes have shown that intensely visualizing movements triggers the same brain activations as actual physical execution. This shows that the brain does not distinguish between what is lived and what is deeply visualized. When praying and visualizing the desired reality with all senses, hearing sounds, seeing details, feeling textures, scents, and emotions, the mind begins to create new neural circuits, preparing the body and energy to manifest this experience. It's as if reality is rehearsed internally before projecting externally. When intention, feeling, and visualization act in unison, a vibrational coherence is created that tunes the individual with the desired reality. This coherence is picked up by the quantum field as an energy signature. The longer this vibration is sustained, the stronger it becomes, and the universe, which responds to stable energy patterns, begins to rearrange circumstances, attract people, align events, and open paths for that reality to manifest, not by magic, but by resonance. Everything in the universe communicates through frequency, and a well-structured prayer is a continuous emission of this specific frequency. When you feel deeply, visualize clearly, and maintain a firm intention, the universe understands. This is the signal it needs to follow. It's important to understand that this process is not instantaneous. There is a maturation time between the emission of the vibration and the manifestation of reality. This time varies according to the intensity of the emotion, the consistency of the intention, and the degree of vibrational alignment. Often, reality needs to reorganize, people need to reposition themselves, events need to adjust in order for what was visualized to become real. And it's in this interval that many prayers fail, not due to lack of power, but because of impatience. Trust in the process is essential. Faith, in this context, is the ability to maintain the vibration even when the evidence has not yet appeared. It's believing before seeing. It's feeling before touching. It's vibrating before receiving. This practice requires vibrational discipline. It's not enough to pray intensely once and then plunge back into doubt or fear. Reality responds to the dominant field, not to momentary peaks. Therefore, it's necessary to create the habit of maintaining the desired vibration throughout the day, upon waking up, going to sleep, eating, working. Not as an obsession, but as a state of being. Prayer ceases to be a moment and becomes a constant vibration. You begin to live as if it already were. Act, think, feel, and decide from the reality that is still forming, but already exists in the quantum field. This accelerates the manifestation process and deepens the internal alignment with what you wish to co-create. It is essential to avoid the common mistake of praying for what you desire while vibrating the exact opposite. For example, asking for health while nourishing yourself with guilt, stress, and neglect. Or asking for prosperity while cultivating scarcity in thoughts, words, and habits. True prayer is integrated. It is reflected in the mind, emotions, actions, and daily choices. Intention without action is just a wish. Emotion without consistency is just a momentary outburst. Visualization without commitment is just a fantasy. But when all these elements integrate, prayer becomes a process of multi-dimensional alignment. Mind, body, soul, emotion, and action vibrating in unison towards the desired manifestation. Cases of spontaneous healing, reversals of diagnoses, financial turnarounds, and unlikely encounters are often linked to people who, even in the face of adverse circumstances, manage to maintain a high vibrational state, visualize intensely, and keep an unwavering intention. These stories are not exceptions. They are expressions of the hidden mechanics of prayer in full operation. Science is still seeking explanations, but quantum physics already points to the central role of the observer, consciousness, and vibration in the creation of reality. Prayer, when performed with an understanding of this process, becomes a direct channel for co-creation. It ceases to be a request and becomes an act of activation. The creative visualization doesn't require long rituals. It can occur in seconds of total focus, in moments of deep connection, in instances of full gratitude. But it needs to be genuine. It needs to be felt in the body, in the heart, in the breath. It's better to pray for 2 minutes with total intensity than for 20 minutes distracted. The quality of the vibration is more important than the amount of time. When the emotion is real, the signal is clear. When the mental image is coherent, the field responds. When the intention is firm, the universe organizes. And this powerful triad, intention, feeling, and visualization, becomes the foundation of a life co-created with consciousness. In this new paradigm, praying means to stop expecting something from the outside world and start shaping the inner world with clarity, love, and vision. It's understanding that what you uphold internally with emotion and clarity inevitably projects onto the physical world. Reality is just the late reflection of your vibrational field. Therefore, the most powerful prayer is not the one made with beautiful words, but the one made with total alignment. When you pray with true intention, feel as if it's already real, and see with the eyes of your soul what you desire. You are, in fact, writing codes in the vibrational matrix of reality. And this matrix, silent and sensitive, always responds precisely to the dominant vibration that you choose to uphold. Prayer, when viewed through the lens of quantum mechanics and the oldest spiritual traditions, reveals a profound interaction with the concept of time and the very structure of the field that sustains reality. Unlike the linear perception of time, past, present, and future moving in a straight line, the universe in its most subtle state operates in a non-linear time where everything occurs simultaneously on multiple levels of existence. Quantum physics shows that time, in fact, is relative, shaped by the observer's consciousness and the structure of space-time. This means that prayer does not only act in the present. When done with vibrational coherence, it interacts with future possibilities and even past patterns, reconfiguring probabilities and reinterpreting experiences. Prayer does not obey clocks, it responds to frequencies. The quantum field, also known as the unified field or zero-point field, is an invisible matrix where all possibilities coexist in a latent state. In this field, there are infinite versions of reality waiting for a compatible vibration to collapse into manifestation. Each choice, each thought, each prayer, each emotion sends an energetic signature to this field, as if they were vibrational commands. What manifests in our life is what is in resonance with our predominant frequency. Therefore, prayer is not a plea to chance, but an energetic seed planted in this vast field of possibilities. The harvest depends on vibrational time, not chronological time. What you emanate today, with intensity and coherence, may manifest days, weeks, or years later, or even almost instantly, depending on the degree of alignment with the desired field. This non-linear nature of time allows phenomena such as synchronicities, premonitions, intuitions, and significant coincidences to occur. When a prayer is made with clarity and heightened emotion, it alters the structure of the field around you and begins to attract events that are compatible with this vibration. Time, in this context, acts as an organizer of possibilities, and the field responds not to what you want, but to what you consistently vibrate. Therefore, what we call waiting time is not a delay, but an organization of events, people, places, and situations that need to align for the outcome to materialize. Anxiety, doubt, or disbelief in this interval directly interfere with the process, disrupting the flow and delaying or even nullifying the manifestation. Spiritual time is different from human time. While we live in the illusion of linearity, the quantum field responds to the intensity of the now. The present moment, when lived with full attention and elevated emotion, has absolute creative power. It is in the now that prayer has strength. The past cannot be changed, but it can be redefined through the current vibration. The future is not written, but is shaped by what you vibrate now. Every prayer is a frame put around a future possibility, and the stronger the vibration emitted in the present, the more quickly that possibility collapses into reality. The secret is to learn to vibrate in the present, as if the desire has already been fulfilled. This is the key that bends time, reconfigures the field, and accelerates manifestation. When you pray feeling that you have already received, time responds with acceleration. When you pray with doubt, time expands, creating delay. The quantum field interprets your vibration, not your words. Therefore, the feeling of already having, the state of anticipated gratitude, the silent trust, are the elements that make time cease to be a barrier. Accounts of prayers answered almost immediately are usually associated with high emotional states of certainty, love, and connection. People who have accessed these states report a sensation that time stopped, that everything fell silent, that there was a suspension of common reality. This is a sign that the prayer has crossed the barrier of linear time and touched the field of simultaneity, where all things already are. This timeless reality is also accessed during altered states of consciousness. Practices such as deep meditation, conscious breathing, flow states, and mystical experiences put the brain into slower and more coherent waves like theta and gamma waves. In these states, subjective time expands or contracts. Minutes can seem like hours, or hours can pass like seconds. And it is in this inner space that prayer becomes more powerful. By praying in this expanded state, you connect with deeper parts of the field and plant energetic seeds in fertile grounds. Therefore, it's essential to understand that prayer time is not counted in seconds, but in vibrational coherence. A minute in deep coherence is worth more than hours in emotional distraction. The quantum field does not judge, reject, or choose, it simply responds. And time, within this field, is plastic, fluid, adaptable. What determines the speed of manifestation is the intensity, clarity, and consistency of the emitted vibration. When a prayer is sustained with love, gratitude, and presence, time organizes in favor. When it is accompanied by fear, haste, or despair, time becomes disorganized. A well-made prayer is an act of surrender to quantum time. It's trusting that what was asked for already exists on some level and that reality is just adjusting to manifest it. There's no need for anxiety, only for vibrational consistency. The true prayer is a seed sown with faith in the fertile ground of the now, and time is the invisible gardener who takes care of its blossoming. Reports of instantaneous healings, synchronized encounters, sudden solutions, and personal miracles are, most of the time, linked to a change in the perception of time. There are people who report, in moments of intense prayer, feeling as if they had stepped out of time. This state of temporal suspension is, in fact, the entrance into a level of reality where time ceases to be linear. In this state, access to the quantum field becomes more direct. The field responds more quickly, as there is no internal resistance. When psychological time, that marked by the mind, is silenced, vibrational time intensifies. The prayer made in this state is pure, potent, and often irresistible to the field. Thus, learning to pray outside of linear time is one of the greatest keys to conscious manifestation. This requires training in presence, mastery of emotions, and a refined awareness of the now. The more present you are during prayer, the stronger the vibrational impact. The past no longer needs to be a burden. The future no longer needs to be a source of anxiety. Everything you need is in the now. The now is the access point to the quantum field. It's the only place where reality can truly be shaped. External time may seem slow, but vibrational time responds to the frequency of your consciousness. If you maintain a high vibration now, the future begins to be drawn into your current experience. In this context, time is not your enemy, it's your ally. It organizes, connects, prepares. It makes room for manifestation. Each minute of coherence is a brick placed in the construction of the desired reality. And each vibrational distraction is a pause in the process. Prayer, when done with consistency and focus, generates a cumulative field that grows over time. This accumulated energy becomes a vortex, a magnetic field that attracts to itself elements, people, opportunities, and situations that resonate with the sustained frequency. Time bends before vibrational coherence. It bows before living faith. It organizes itself in the face of heartfelt prayer. And this understanding transforms prayer into an act of vibrational alchemy in the present, with effects that spread through the past and the future. Finally, understanding the interaction between prayer, time, and the quantum field is to recognize that you are not separate from the reality you desire. It already exists somewhere in the field. Your role is to vibrationally align with it through heartfelt prayer, clear intention, and constant visualization. Time, when respected and understood, becomes the silent conductor of this manifestation. There is no delay. There is preparation. There is no waiting. There is alignment. And the more you pray with confidence in the process, the quicker the field responds. Because prayer, at its core, is the deepest gesture of faith in the universe's time. And the universe, when it recognizes this vibrational faith, responds with what seemed impossible, but was always waiting for your alignment. When a single person prays with deep intention, authentic feeling, and clear visualization, Their vibration is already capable of measurably influencing the field around them. But when several people unite with the same intention, maintaining the same frequency of thought and emotion, the strength of this collective field multiplies exponentially. The universe does not add energies. It integrates them into coherent waves, generating patterns of constructive interference that amplify the group's vibrational potency. The result of this is that group prayers with vibrational unity have a much greater power of manifestation and transformation than those made in isolation, not out of superstition, but because of applied vibrational mechanics. The coherence field generated by an aligned mind is already powerful. The field created by dozens or hundreds of attuned consciousnesses is a force that literally alters the reality around it. Numerous scientific experiments around the world have already proven this effect. One of the most well-known was conducted in various cities by the Institute of Noetic Sciences and the Global Coherence Initiative, where groups of people gathered to pray or meditate with a focus on peace, harmony, and healing. In all cases, during the periods of collective prayers, there were significant reductions in rates of violence, accidents, hospitalizations, and even anomalies in the Earth's magnetic fields were recorded. In Washington, in 1993, during an experiment with thousands of meditators praying for peace, crime fell by more than 20% compared to what was expected, contradicting all statistical predictions. The effect was replicated in other cities and the results followed the same trend. This shows that collective consciousness in coherence alters social, energetic, and even climatic patterns. Group prayer is, therefore, a technology for social and environmental transformation. This collective force works because we are all interconnected by an invisible field that connects all forms of life. The biologist Rupert Sheldrake named this field the morphic field, or morphogenetic field, an invisible energetic structure that stores patterns of behavior, information, and forms. When a group unites in the same vibration, they feed this field with a coherent pattern, and this pattern propagates beyond the individuals, affecting the collective. This phenomenon explains why certain ideas spread without direct contact, why trends emerge simultaneously in distant places, and why collective prayers impact people who are not even aware of what is happening. The morphogenetic field, fueled by aligned prayers, begins to reorganize collective consciousness, even at unconscious levels. Collective prayer does not necessarily require the physical presence of all involved. Studies with geographically separated groups have shown that as long as intention, emotion, and visualization are synchronized, the effects are the same. This happens because the quantum field operates outside the limitations of space and time. It responds to coherence, not distance. Thus, a group can pray from different parts of the world and still generate a cohesive collective field. When thousands of consciousnesses unite, vibrating in gratitude, healing, peace, or compassion, an invisible network of light is created that covers the planet like an energetic mesh, influencing Earth's psychosphere and generating subtle but powerful effects on global consciousness. Each mind becomes a point of light, and together they form a vibrational architecture that redefines reality. Many spiritual masters throughout the centuries have understood the power of collective prayer. Ancient rituals, masses, indigenous ceremonies, healing circles, and meditation wheels have always used energy grouping as a catalyst. The external ritual was just the vehicle. What really performed miracles was the vibrational union among the people present. When hearts beat in resonance, the field generated is stronger than the sum of its parts. There are reports of villages that, when gathering to pray for rain or someone's healing, triggered events that contradicted all physical logic. It's not a coincidence, it's coherence in action. The more aligned the group is in feeling, the more potent the prayer is. And the more frequent this alignment, the more stable the collective field becomes. The science of complex systems also reinforces this view. In structures like bee swarms, schools of fish, or flocks of birds, there is no leader controlling the movements. There is a shared information field that guides the collective. And this collective intelligence forms from the connection among the members. With humans, the same happens on a subtle level. When we pray together, we access a field of collective wisdom that transcends the individual ego. We begin to receive intuitions, perceptions, and inspirations that do not come solely from the personal mind, but from the collective field created. It is in this state that unexpected solutions, spontaneous healings, transformative insights emerge. Collective prayer, when genuine, elevates us to a level where we are no longer just individuals, but part of a larger spiritual organism. And furthermore, when groups regularly gather with the purpose of praying or meditating, a kind of energetic memory is created in the space, as if the location or psychic structure retains the vibration and amplifies it with each new meeting. Churches, temples, spiritual circles, and healing spaces work this way. They are points of vibrational activation maintained by consistency and collective intention. The more one prays, the stronger the field becomes, and when new people connect to this field, even without knowing its history, they are impacted by it. This is the reason why many feel peace or deep emotions upon entering certain places. They are accessing the vibrational residue of the prayers accumulated there. It is an energetic heritage that perpetuates itself. At the deepest level, collective prayer also acts as an antidote against the fragmentation of human consciousness. In a world where separation, fear, and competition are fueled daily, bringing people together to vibrate in peace, healing, and love is a revolutionary act. It is a collective reprogramming of humanity's vibrational matrix. Each gathering, each joint prayer, each shared intention is slowly rescuing the memory of unity. We are relearning that we are not isolated beings trying to survive, but individual expressions of a larger consciousness trying to awaken. Collective prayer is not only powerful for its energetic mechanics, it is also a reminder of who we are, parts of the same field, connected beyond forms, united by the vibration we choose to sustain together. And this vibrational union has practical effects. Companies that have introduced collective practices of daily prayer or meditation have reported an increase in productivity, reduction of conflicts, improvement in the organizational climate, and a greater sense of purpose among employees. Hospitals that implemented techniques of collective prayer, even among the staff, observed significant changes in patients, in recovery, and even in the rate of medical errors. Families that pray together create deeper bonds, emotional harmony, and an environment of trust and support. It's not just about spirituality. It's about collective vibrational coherence positively influencing all aspects of life. The field responds to the collective with the same precision as it responds to the individual, but with multiplied potency. In this new paradigm, praying in a group is not just a spiritual or religious tradition. It's a quantum technology for social transformation. It's a vibrational strategy to alter the structure of reality. It's an act of engineering the collective consciousness. Each gathering, each shared intention, each heart that unites with another in coherent vibration is participating in the recreation of the world. And the more people awaken to this power, the stronger the field becomes, the faster the planet changes, the more miracles become visible. Collective prayer is no longer a hope. It's a tool, an active force, a portal for collective manifestation. It's the very manifestation of the universal principle of vibrational unity in action. Although we have understood so far that prayer is an active vibrational force capable of shaping realities, we still commonly see thousands of people who pray every day and do not reap what they ask for. Instead of clear answers, they receive silence. Instead of miracles, they face even more challenges. This raises an inevitable question. Why do some prayers work as catalysts for transformation, while others seem ineffective, even when made with devotion? The answer is not in the lack of superficial faith or the absence of the right words, but in the invisible obstacles that block or distort the vibrational signal emitted. These blockages are not punitive nor capricious. They are consistent with the structure of the quantum field, which responds precisely to the predominant vibration. The problem is that we often are not aware of what we are really vibrating. One of the main obstacles is the inconsistency between what is asked for and what is felt. The most common prayer of human beings is made in desperation, but desperation carries within its vibration the feeling of powerlessness, of absence, of scarcity. When a person prays for healing but vibrates with fear of the disease, The signal sent to the field is that of the disease's presence. When one prays for abundance, but the prevailing feeling is one of scarcity, lack, or unworthiness, the field responds with more scarcity. It's not a matter of punishment or insensitivity from the universe. It's vibrational physics. The field doesn't respond to what is said in words, but to what is felt more consistently. The true prayer, the one that moves structures, doesn't stem from the fear of what one wants to avoid, but from the profound trust in what one wants to experience. Another powerful obstacle is the system of unconscious beliefs that contradict conscious prayer. A person can pray with all the right words, can visualize, can momentarily feel a positive emotion, but if they carry deep-seated limiting beliefs such as "I am not worthy," "Nothing works out for me," "I don't deserve to be happy," "God is punishing me," their vibration will be contaminated by these invisible structures. These beliefs, often inherited in childhood, rooted in traumas, or reinforced by repeated experiences, act as filters that distort or block the flow of manifestation. The vibrational field remains in incoherent frequencies, and the prayer does not reach the necessary frequency to collapse the desired reality. It's like trying to transmit a message through a radio out of tune. The intention may be good, but the signal does not come through clearly. Furthermore, there is the factor of prayer made with attachment to the outcome. When someone prays and is constantly checking if what they asked for is arriving, if they exhibit anxiety, haste, or emotional demand, they are unknowingly blocking the natural flow of the field. The energy of prayer requires trust, surrender, and permission. Attachment stifles creation. It prevents the field from moving freely, and often transforms prayer into a mechanical repetition of fear, not a gesture of faith. The true act of praying includes surrender. After emitting the intention, feeling the emotion, and visualizing clearly, it is necessary to let go. Trust that the field is organizing itself, that time is taking care of maturation, and that everything is being attracted in its natural order. Excessive control kills the spontaneity of the field. Prayer can also be sabotaged by recurring emotional habits that keep an individual's vibration at dense frequencies. Chronic anger, unforgiven resentment, envy, jealousy, pessimism, guilt, and self-punishment are emotions that, even if they are not at the heart of prayer, make up the vibrational foundation of the personal field. The quantum field captures the person's overall frequency, not just the isolated moments of prayer. If you pray for light but live immersed in shadow, your dominant vibration is the shadow. Therefore, a conscious process of emotional release, internal purification, and vibrational cleansing is necessary. Praying with a heart full of sorrow is like trying to plant flowers in poisoned soil. The seed may be good, but it finds no room to germinate. Another critical point is prayer made with tainted intention. Sometimes what seems to be a legitimate desire actually hides unbalanced motivations. Asking for prosperity to feed the ego, to compete, to prove worth, does not generate coherence with the field of true abundance. Asking for a relationship to fill a void, to avoid loneliness, or due to emotional dependence, creates a vibrational field based on absence, not on completeness. The true intention is not what one consciously thinks, but what pulses in the deepest vibrational field. And the quantum field responds to what is real, not to what is feigned. Therefore, an honest process of self-analysis is essential. Why do I want this? What am I truly seeking? Am I praying to express my essence or to escape from myself? The lack of consistency is also an invisible yet decisive obstacle. The universe responds to the predominant vibration, not the occasional one. Praying once a day with emotion and spending the rest of the time vibrating fear, doubt, complaint, and self-pity creates a confusing, incoherent, unstable field. Prayer is not just an act, it's a state of being. It's necessary to sustain the vibration of prayer in every thought, word, choice, action, and posture. This doesn't mean living in rigidity or emotional repression, but in conscious vigilance. Maintaining coherence is a practice, a daily exercise of alignment. And the more you train, the more natural it becomes, until praying ceases to be an isolated activity and becomes a constant frequency in your field. There is also the factor of spiritual ego, a subtle and treacherous obstacle. When someone prays thinking they have a greater connection than others, when they see themselves as more evolved, more enlightened, or more deserving, they are in fact vibrating separation, judgment, and pride. The quantum field is unified. It doesn't respond to superiority, but to resonance. The spiritual ego blocks prayer because it creates a false identity that separates the individual from the source. True prayer arises from vibrational humility, from the certainty that you are part of the whole and that what you desire does not come through privilege, but through alignment. Prayer is not bargaining with the divine. It is communion with the invisible. When there is arrogance, there is no room for miracles. It is equally important to understand that there are prayers that are not answered because what is asked for is not in alignment with the soul's purpose. Not everything that is desired is, in fact, necessary or beneficial for the process of consciousness expansion. Sometimes non-manifestation is protection. Silence is teaching. The apparent no is a redirection. True prayer includes the wisdom of saying, "This or something better, according to the divine plan for me." When the request comes from the soul, it manifests fluidly. When it comes only from the ego, it encounters resistance. The field of reality responds more strongly to prayers that vibrate purpose than to those that vibrate only desire. Therefore, aligning personal will with soul mission is one of the highest steps of conscious prayer. There are also cases where prayer seems not to work simply because the individual is asking for something that is already present, but they have not yet learned to perceive it. Many blessings have already arrived, but the focus on lack prevents them from being seen. It's like a hungry person in front of a bountiful table, but with blindfolded eyes. Prayer is not just a request, it's an opening. Often, what blocks the answer is vibrational blindness, the inability to recognize the signs, to perceive the opportunities, to be grateful for what is already flowing. Gratitude is the universal unlocker of perception. When you give thanks for what you have already received, even if in a subtle form, you expand your capacity to receive more. The prayer that begins with gratitude is a prayer that removes barriers and broadens horizons. In summary, prayer never fails. What fails is the alignment. The field always responds. Time always organizes. Energy always flows. But if the channel is blocked, the manifestation is delayed. Therefore, it's not enough to just pray. It is necessary to clear the channel, adjust the frequency, align the field, reprogram beliefs, release emotions, let go of control, dissolve the ego, embrace purpose, and live in a state of gratitude. True prayer is not just an act of speaking to the divine. It is a process of becoming compatible with what you wish to co-create. It is a journey of self-discovery, transformation, and vibrational elevation. And as these invisible obstacles are removed, prayer becomes inevitably effective because it ceases to be an attempt to change the external world and becomes a direct reflection of the internal world in coherence with the source. Praying is no longer simply speaking to God, begging for a miracle, or placing hope in what is external. Praying, in its highest form, is creating. It is consciously playing the role of co-creator of reality. The new spiritual perspective calls us to transcend the infantilized view of prayer as supplication and passivity, and to recognize that it is a profound process of vibrational alignment with the source of creation. It's not about asking, but about becoming. It's not about waiting for intervention, but about inhabiting the frequency of what one wishes to see manifested. In this new paradigm, each prayer is a creative act. Each aligned intention, each authentic feeling, and each clear visualization are invisible bricks building a tangible reality. The universe does not respond to loose desires, but to the constant vibration of those who have become compatible with what they seek. This shift in understanding changes everything. Because now it's not about waiting for something to come from outside, but about awakening what already exists within. The reality you desire is already present in the quantum field as a possibility. Prayer is the mechanism for collapsing these possibilities. To pray consciously is to collapse, through vibration, the latent reality so that it manifests in the physical plane. The field doesn't decide for you. It waits for your predominant vibration to reflect what you hold most coherently. Therefore, to pray is to take vibrational command of your own existence. It's taking responsibility for what you emit, what you focus on, what you believe in, and what you feel. It's about stopping living on the autopilot of the conditioned mind and starting to create with intention, clarity, and presence. In this new perspective, prayer ceases to be an isolated event and becomes a continuous state. You do not pray only when you close your eyes and address the divine. You pray with your recurring thoughts, with your most frequent emotions, with your daily words, with your silent choices. Everything in you is praying all the time, even without realizing it. The question is not if you are praying, but with what you are praying. Are you praying with fear or with confidence, with guilt or with gratitude, with doubt or with certainty? Reality responds to this silent, constant prayer, which repeats within your vibrational field like background music. To pray is to keep the channel open. It is to cultivate a conscious vibration that remains active even in moments of silence, because the field always listens, even when the mouth is silent. The new spirituality, which combines ancestral wisdom and quantum science, shows us that prayer is much more than connecting with the sacred. It's remembering that we are part of it, that there is no separation between creator and creature, between source and fragment, between heaven and earth. Effective prayer is born from unity, not from lack. It's the one where the individual remembers that they carry within them the spark of creation and, therefore, have the power to shape their experience. Not as someone who commands the universe, but as one who aligns with it. Prayer is not spiritual manipulation, it's vibrational alignment. It's dancing to the rhythm of creation, understanding that everything in harmony with your frequency will come, not because it was asked for, but because it was vibrated. In this new perspective, time is not an obstacle, it's a tool. Reality is not oppressive, it's an answer. Life is not a test, it's a reflection. To pray is to align oneself with the subtle laws of the universe, which neither reward nor punish, but simply reflect what you uphold. This awareness empowers. It removes the individual from the condition of being a victim of circumstances and places them in the role of co-author of their journey. Each thought cultivated with intention, each emotion upheld with truth, each visualization made with presence is a command issued to the field. And the field, like a quantum mirror, responds accurately. It's not blind faith. It's applied vibrational knowledge. Prayer, at this level, is both a spiritual and technological practice. It's the science of the soul in action. And here arises a new understanding. Praying is not just expressing desires. It is expanding consciousness. It is transforming oneself, because to vibrate what one desires, one must become that vibration. And in this process, the ego is dissolved, the masks fall, the patterns are redefined. True prayer requires leaving behind everything that is not compatible with the reality one wishes to live. Therefore, praying is a path of self-transformation. You do not pray just to change the external world. You pray to refine your inner world until it becomes a mirror of what you desire. The most powerful prayer is the one that not only asks, but also reforms, purifies, expands the being so that it can contain what it was previously unable to sustain. In this new era, praying is a state of presence. It's a way of living. It's breathing with awareness, eating with gratitude, working with purpose, relating with love, resting with trust, thinking with clarity. Every action can be a prayer if it's in tune with the whole. Prayer is no longer confined to the temple, the church, the altar. It happens in the kitchen, in traffic, in the silence of the bedroom, in the gaze towards another, in the thought before sleep. Prayer dissolves into choices, and each choice is a vibration sent out. When a human being understands this, everything changes, because they stop waiting for miracles and start living miracles. Not because something magical happens, but because their vibration aligns with the frequency of the miracle. And then, what seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Prayer, at this new level, also becomes a practice of collective impact. The more people who live in this state of vibrational prayer, the higher the collective field rises. The planetary reality is a reflection of the average vibration of human consciousness. Therefore, praying with awareness is a revolutionary act. It is actively participating in the elevation of humanity's frequency. Each person who maintains coherence amidst chaos, who vibrates light amidst darkness, who emanates peace amidst conflict, is praying for the world. And this silent prayer creates invisible waves that touch hearts, awaken minds, and inspire other souls to align. The world changes when the vibration changes. And the vibration changes when more people understand that to pray is to create, to sustain, to be. There comes a point when one no longer prays for something specific. One prays for the vibration, for the attunement, for the presence. Because it is known that everything that is needed is already in resonance with that frequency. There is no longer urgency. There is certainty. There is no longer lack. There is completeness. Prayer becomes a field, a state, an inner atmosphere. And when one lives in this state, everything begins to align effortlessly. Opportunities arise, connections appear, solutions reveal themselves, the body responds, the mind clears, the spirit rejoices, and life becomes a natural extension of the sustained vibration, not because one asked forcefully, but because one lived with coherence. At this final point of the journey, we understand that prayer is not a means to achieve something. It is the path itself. It is the process of becoming who one needs to be in order to live what one wishes to live. It is a cycle of expansion in which one prays not out of need, but for alignment, not out of fear, but for presence, not out of lack, but for love. Prayer is the language of the soul recognizing its origin. It is the whisper of the spirit recalling its power. It is the silent dance between the visible and the invisible, between what one dreams and what manifests. And when this becomes clear, everything around responds, because the entire universe bows before a soul in coherence with its own light. Prayer, at last, becomes the purest sound of creation, no longer as an echo that goes from us towards the divine, but as the divine itself expressing through us, in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every conscious act of co-creation. Mind unfettered, now it's up to you. Have you ever felt that one of your prayers has inexplicably shaped the course of something in your life? Or perhaps you're in search of that vibrational harmony right now. Comment below, what was the most powerful prayer you ever made, and what did it change in you or around you? Let's build this vibrational field together in the comments. Your story may resonate with others and further expand this network of conscious manifestation. Reality transforms when we co-create in unison. Each of your words here helps to strengthen this collective frequency of awakening and expansion. And if you felt the power of this journey, don't stop here. The next video reveals one of the most hidden spiritual maps in history. The Book of 33 Steps, the hidden map Jesus left for enlightenment. Click on the screen now and continue this journey of enlightenment. We are the Mind Unfettered, and together we pray, co-create and awaken.